Hello, and welcome to Brain Little Big Feelings, the podcast where we explore what's going on behind the scenes of children's behavior. Not with advice or judgment, but with science. I'm Professor Autism, and in this episode we're diving into the latest neuroscience so we can understand what's really happening inside the brain when a child cries, screams, or sulks. Today's topic: how do children's brains understand emotions? A simple question, but an answer that could change how we see and support our children. To understand emotions in children, we first need to know what parts the brain has. We can simplify into three big zones. 1. The reptile brain, the most primitive part, in charge of survival, breathing, sleeping, eating. 2. The limbic system, the emotional center, includes the amygdala, hippocampus, hypothalamus. 3. The prefrontal cortex, the logical, decision-making brain. When a baby is born, the limbic system is nearly active, but the prefrontal cortex is still under construction. In plain terms, the child feels from day one, but doesn't yet know how to think about their feelings. So when the baby's amygdala fires because of a loud sound or a stranger's face, that's the emotional brain at work. But when a 3-year-old throws a tantrum in the store, it's because the logical brain isn't yet able to step in. In children with autism spectrum conditions, we now have new evidence that shows this process can look different. For example, imaging studies reveal children with autism may have greater responsiveness in the amygdala when viewing emotional faces compared to neurotypical children. Other work shows that physiological arousal in autistic children often does not align with visible emotional expression, a mismatch between what's happening inside and how it shows outside. What this means: a child with autism may feel very strong emotions inside, but the outward expression might look minimal or very different. In recent years, neuroscience has advanced fast, and for children, and especially children on the autism spectrum, there is fresh insight we must know. Our researchers found that children and adolescents with autism spectrum disorder (ASD) show significantly lower accuracy in identifying emotions and slower response times compared to neurotypical peers. The study in 2024 found that children on the autism spectrum may experience emotional discordance. Their internal physiological arousal, for example heart rate, doesn't match how they express stress or emotion outwardly. Other work has shown that regions of the brain in children with autism have differences in structure, for example, altered neuron density in brain regions linked to emotions and cognition. In other words, their emotional brain network is working, but may be wired or developing differently, so the way they sense, process, and show emotions is not the same. Let's bring this down to everyday life. Imagine little Sarah, age 5, who screams and cries when her brother plays with her toy. Her mom says, "You're being stubborn again." But from a brain perspective, Sarah's amygdala might be firing strong emotions, and her prefrontal cortex hasn't yet kicked in to think, maybe I can wait or I can ask nicely. For a child on the autism spectrum, the mismatch might look different. They might seem calm on the outside, but inside feel intense stress, and no one realizes because the outward signals are weak. This is emotional discordance. Because of this, telling a child it's fine, don't worry may not help. They may be experiencing strong internal arousal, and the adult words don't reach their emotional brain in the usual way. Here's a science-based strategy that works. When a child is upset, instead of scolding or reasoning, find the feeling and name it. For example, "I see you're upset because you can't go outside right now. You seem angry because your sister took your toy. Why does this work?" Because naming the emotion activates the prefrontal cortex, helping calm the amygdala. Some brain imaging shows that simply labeling the feeling can reduce amygdala activity by 20–30%. In children with autism, this step can be even more important because their emotional processing system may need extra help to link internal feelings to words and regulation. Bonus tip: use visuals, cards with faces/emotions. Keep your tone calm and predictable, and allow extra time for the child to respond. That wraps up episode 1 of Brain Little Big Feelings. Thanks for watching or listening. In our next episode, we'll explore: why do children on the spectrum sometimes melt down in unexpected situations? If you found this helpful, please like, subscribe, and tap the bell so you don't miss what's next. Until then, stay curious, stay kind, and remember, your child's brain is still building the how to feel, how to show, how to regulate toolkit. You're not alone in this journey. See you next time on Professor Autism.